What's up, agents, and welcome back to another Division video. Hot off the press, the PTS Year 5 Season 2 patch notes has literally just gone live. I have not even looked at it. I just happened to be on my PC, saw it go live, thought, let's get straight in there, get a video done, because it's going to contain new gear and obviously other changes for Project Resolve. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and let's get straight into it. So it's, they've just moved it around actually. So here they are, they've just gone up to the top. So we've got TU20 PTS Phase 2 patch notes, 94 gig in total. If you've already got the PTS, it's 12.6 gig. It starts this Friday, tomorrow, the 19th, which is great to hear, so not long to wait. And literally straight away, we've got new gear. So we've got the Palisade Steelworks brand set. One piece gives 10% armor on kill. That's a bit of a shocker. A two piece gives 60% health. Weird. And then three piece gives a skill tier. Okay, that's odd. We've got the named chest, the combustor, the talent, perfect explosive delivery. Whenever you throw a skill, 1.5 seconds after landing it, it creates an explosion, damaging enemies within 5 meters. Afterwards, explosions will occur every 5 seconds. I mean, I'm not sure how much that would be used, but it is kind of interesting. 5 meters isn't too big. It's a bit deceiving, but I guess we'll see how it works. Damage scales with skill tier, dealing 25 to 100% damage of a concussion grenade. So that's interesting. And we've got applies to remote, pulse, all turrets, all hives, explosive seeker, cluster seeker, mender seeker, and decoy, all traps. Oh, the traps could be crazy because they spread out so far. If each individual one spread out and they got constant explosions, that's pretty crazy. That is pretty. I can imagine the trolling with this could be huge, but I guess we will see. The named backpack, the proxy, which is perfect tamper proof. Enemies that walk within 3 meters of your hive, turret, or pulse are shot. Okay, that's nothing too great, nothing too crazy there. That chest is pretty nutty though. So yeah, I'm definitely interested in checking that out. All right, so we've got the Aegis set as well. Two piece gives 70% health. What's with all the health? We don't use health for anything. So I'm already pretty weirded out by this. 2 sets, health bonuses on both. 3 piece gives 15% armor. 4 piece unlocks a new unique talent, Static. Get 3% damage resistance for every enemy that is targeting you. The bonus is multiplied by 1.x, where x is the number of agents in your group. Whoa. So that's crazy. So I'm guessing it includes yourself. So that's 12% damage resistance right off the rip. Well, that could go huge. If it's all damage resistance, skills and everything, like a new stat, that's kind of crazy. Oh, that's definitely interesting as well. Definitely wasn't expecting this so far. Chest and backpack talents. So, deceit. Enemies targeting your decoy also count towards static damage. Reduction bonus. Holy moly. Is there a cap on that? That can get really high really quickly. Can you imagine running that with a tank set? Surely you're going to be able to become almost invincible here. Surely. You whack on the tank gear set and you whack that chest and backpack on with it. That could be insane. That could be absolutely insane. With some ironworks on, oh my god. So then we've got some new exotic gloves. Talent, iron grip. Minus 50% recoil penalty when hip firing. Minus 50% recoil penalty when blind firing from cover. What? I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, we never hit fire. We never, and maybe this is, we're going to start hit firing with some guns. I don't think hit firing ever feels too responsive anyway. So yeah, weird exotic. Well, I guess we'll try it out and see. I mean, when it comes to new stuff and you read through the patch notes, you're always weirded out and you're never sure. So don't take my reactions like, oh, this is all bad. I have no idea. Until we try it, you never know. So let's get on to the new weapons and talents. So the Vindicator, a new exotic rifle. So it's got the Ortiz is back assault interface. While scoped, the weapon will highlight a random body section of each enemy. The weapon deals 75% damage to highlighted body sections. What? It's got an extra 5 in the mag. It's got 10% optimal range, 15% stability, and 15% accuracy. Holy moly. I wonder if we have to be zoomed in. I hope not. I really hope not. And I wonder what kind of rifle it is. Can you imagine if this is an M1A? Holy moly, that sounds like it could be brilliant. Right, Mosquito, exotic pistol. All right, so we've got another exotic pistol coming in. Hitting an enemy applies a stack. Stacks are everyone's favorite things. Stacks are shared between players. At 10 stacks, an enemy will forcefully target the last player to apply a stack for 5 seconds. Stacks deplete every 5 seconds. Activating the effect on an enemy will remove all stacks from other enemies. So it's like a hate mechanic. I wonder how that would work on forced hit mechanics. It's got 15% reload, 15% weapon accuracy. This is, yeah, I mean, yeah, strange. So, like, I feel like we're leaning into tanks here, especially with the damage reduction stuff, and then into this. Maybe it's a sign of things to come. Who knows? Then we've got some new named weapons and talents. Deal 40% weapon damage to enemies that are not targeting you. Whoa. All of a sudden it matches up with this pistol, right? All of a sudden. That's pretty crazy, actually. That could be really crazy, thinking about it. Marksman rifle, Brutus, the M700 Carbon. Deals 60% weapon damage to enemies that are not targeting you. I wonder if this behind you can only go on marksmans and rifles. I wonder if it's not going to be available for assault rifles. I guess we'll find out. And then we've got the M16A2 rifle, the Whisper. Everybody hates this. Why have no? But I don't think anybody shoots one of these guns. Literally, I think it's probably the only gun nobody shoots. Deals 60% weapon damage to enemies that are not targeting you. I mean, they're not targeting you because you don't put out anywhere near enough DPS to be able to make it viable. Conflict. They've removed the turrets again from the spawn points. We know they weren't happy with the results of that and they're going back to the drawing board. Dark Zone going rogue in the normal Dark Zone now has a 3-second activation timer. Talent. So this is probably where they put some stuff back. So changed proc condition back to target killed from target headshot. I think they should have found a halfway with that. Kind of just reverting back seems odd, but it is what it is. Festive delivery, concussion grenades become festive grenades. Hitting an enemy with a festive grenade will cause explosion to happen around 2 other enemies within 10 meters, dealing half the damage. But this is for PvP only. So they've halved the range as well. So not only have they fixed it the other day, they've halved the range in PvP. Unbreakable's been completely reverted. System corruption, 4-piece damage bonus changed from 2%, so that's getting a buff. And intimidate, each stack increases total weapon damage by 4%, damage from 5, and that's been taken back down. So weapons, let's have a look what they've done here. Now this is going to be, I haven't got the previous patch notes, so maybe I should have pulled them up, but we'll just fly through them and just kind of see what we think. So all exotic weapons is still configurable, so they've said they still did that for all, although I do believe they did say some might not be, so that's interesting. Carbine 7 and Stoner, this is a great fix, so that's good. ACI Ian is getting the 10%, the AKMs are getting 10%, the AUGs are getting 10%, the CTAR is getting extra 10 in the mag, F2 1000. So this is all the same, if I remember right. Extra 50 RPM and 10 in the mag, which is great for this, puts it almost top tier. We've got FAL getting 5% extra weapon damage, when really I feel like it should have been the mag that should have been addressed. The military G36s or the G36s are getting extra 50 RPM. Honey Badger getting extra 5 in the mag. MK16, 10% extra weapon damage. Military P416 getting an extra 50 RPM. And the PDRs getting an extra 10% weapon damage. That includes your capacitor exotic as well. LMGs here. So have they taken away? They were doing like let me just see if I can find it. Okay, so it looks like they've taken away. They were doing like an all-round buff. So now they've gone. It looks like they've stripped it back to individual guns rather than, you know, giving X to all assault rifles or X to all LMGs. The Stoner's getting 20% extra weapon damage. The Blue Screen getting extra 10% weapon damage. That's pretty good. Military L86 getting 20% weapon damage. The Dirt is getting 20% weapon damage. M249B is getting 20% weapon damage. That's a huge buff for them. The classic M60 with another 20% weapon damage. MG5, 20% weapon damage. The Iron Lung is still getting 10% extra weapon damage rather than 20. Negev with 20, and the classic RPK is getting 20. So it's kind of like, you know, they've thought, okay, the Blue Screen doesn't need as much, and the Iron Lung doesn't need as much, but everything else is getting 20. So yeah, they've split it down individually. So with the SMGs, AUG's getting 10% weapon damage and 25% RPM. The Banshee is getting 5% weapon damage and 50 RPM. MP5 is just getting extra 6 in the mag. MP7 is getting 5% weapon damage and 50 RPM. The Police T821s, or the T821s I should say, are getting 10% weapon damage. The converted SMG9s are 50 RPM. The M1928, the Tommies and stuff, and the Slayers are all getting 10% weapon damage. Not that I don't think people really use them. And the Police UMP is getting 10% extra weapon damage. So I will probably spreadsheet some of these up. So do check out the following videos when that comes out as well. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe for them. Rifles, ACR SS 10%, Ruthless and Merciless 10% weapon damage. I mean, the thing's just, I know they addressed it a little bit, but it's just so crazy to use. 10% weapon damage is just hitting barn doors, just not worth it. UIC 30% weapon damage. That's pretty big buff for that. M16, the M16A2s are getting 30% weapon damage, but they're just so bad. I don't even think that's going to put it anywhere near anywhere. MDRs are getting 10% weapon damage and 20 RPM. MK17s are getting 25% weapon damage. SIGs are getting 25% weapon damage. The Ravenous is getting an extra 10% weapon damage. USC is getting 10% weapon damage, and the MK47 and the Harmony is getting 20% weapon damage. Marksman rifles, this is going to be interesting. So the M700 is still getting the 20% weapon damage and 8 optimal range. Very, very nice. The model M700 is getting 25% and 8 optimal range. The Convert SRSs are getting 30% weapon damage. The Mantis is getting a 15% weapon damage buff. So not going back completely to what it was, it's still getting a buff. The SR1 is getting 30%. The Paratrooper SVDs are 15%. And the Tactical 308 is getting an extra 20 RPM and an 8 optimal range buff. So we're going back to the brand sets now. So note, the images below depicting gear balancing shows overall changes implemented. They include changes from phase 1 of the TUPTS and updates to made after some review. Right, so Alps is getting 30% skill duration and 30% skill haste. China Light, extra skill haste and status effects. Electric, that nobody uses, but they buffed it to 30% SMG damage at the back. Empress is getting 10% skill damage buff. Crazy good. Hana U, 10% skill damage there in 2 pieces, and then 10% weapon damage at the back. Murakami, 30% repair skills and 20% skill damage. R&K, explosive resistance going up to 25% and repair skills to 40. No one's going to use it. Wyvern, 15% status effects and 40% skill duration. Still no one's going to use it. Empress still definitely got the winner here when it comes to skills. 511, I mean, let's just pass it by. No one uses it. Little buff for Badger, getting 15% armor on kill. Bellstone going up to 40% armor, incoming repairs makes no difference. Brazos going up to 50% mag size. That is a little bit interesting because there is kind of some usability there when it comes to using the ninja bike. So that might be interesting for definitely for sustained damage. Healer guard going up to 2% regen. Health getting a buff here again as well, which is odd. Golan 1.5% regen buff there as well with 10% total armor. HG with the 20% MMR damage. That's pretty good. That could definitely be used if you've got the right pieces, especially the named backpack and the named chest. That might end up becoming best in slot. 20% status effect damage. Lengmore 25 skill health, 30% LMG damage. So that's a buff there. Interesting to see if that's actually enough to make that viable. Uzina to 20% Hasbro. Seska 90% health. No one uses that anyway. DNH, I mean, some extra buffs there, but no one tends to go past the 20% pistol damage. Fenris with the 30% reload speed and weapon stability. I mean, if you're using with a ninja bike for whatever reason, that'll certainly be welcomed, but not generally used. Grupo 20% explosive damage. That's definitely nice for a turret build. I often use 2 Grupo, so that's definitely nice. Petrov defense group here. Again, more ammo capacity, so that's, you know, I don't think anyone ever takes it to 3-piece anyway. And weapon handling, if you're using ninja, and I guess that's the whole point with this. Overlord is getting 30% accuracy and 30% weapon handling. That's pretty crazy. That kind of kills out, you know, weapon handling talents, to be perfectly honest. And then Walker Harris, 10% damage to health. They stayed away from the 2-piece bonus, which would have been absolutely OP. They're unchanged. No Jarl, no Araldi, no Provi, and no Sokolov changes at all. So then they've changed the tinkering station, which we've not yet to see properly. So mobile tinkering when you're out and about. The functionality of the tinker station can now be accessed on the go from the inventory in 2 ways. Pressing M while nothing is highlighted, the player will enter the general tinkering menu. Pressing M while specific item is selected will allow the player to make tinkering options directly from the highlighted items. And hopefully that doesn't cause any confusion with getting into the map. Expertise, no changes have been made. Recal, both functions, and optimization, both functions can be in the tinker menu. Optimization can no longer be done up to a value higher than the value stored in the player's recal library. So getting your recal library maxed out now is probably a really, really good idea. Optimization upgrade steps have changed. Players will no longer pay the full price for an incomplete optimization step. This is pretty huge because you always paid a ridiculous amount, which meant optimization was so expensive because it was worked out like a pie system, you know, so many, like I think it's 8 pieces of the pie. And if you was kind of midway through one, you still got charged an extortionate amount. So it says here, for an example, the user has 10% SMG damage in the library and is trying to optimize an SMG that currently has 9.7 SMG damage. Since the value in the player's library is 10%, they will only be able to upgrade by 0.3% and they'll only pay the material price. Absolutely fair. This is all right. This is good. Right. So recal library, no changes made from phase 1. It has received UI improvements and can be accessed from the tinkering menu. Combat lock, high on everybody's list. While joining another player's session, the player joining now has a 1-minute grace period before the combat lock applies. Gear no longer, I mean, I'm not even going to say it. I'm not even going to say it. But in certain situations, this is what people will be doing. This is exactly what people will be joining so that they can get around the combat lock within that 1-minute grace period. Just saying. Like the whole combat lock thing, it just seems like a bit of a mess. Gear lock no longer is affecting the shooting range. I mean, that's really, really nice quality of life there. Really nice. The player can now swap between concussion grenades and the current specialization grenades while in combat. That's, again, definitely needed to be in. Rogue players in the Dark Zone are no longer always gear locked, but combat gear still applies. This means that rogue players in the Dark Zone will be gear locked during combat as opposed to PTS 1 when the lock is applied for the whole duration of rogue status. So that if you're rogue, you can change your gear, but if you're in combat, you can't. Descent. Added descent outfits in the NSA store, all 4 different colour variants. Holy moly. Added the Vindicta exotic in the NSA store. Was that one of the ones from before? It was, right? Let's just make sure we know this. Exotic. Yes. All right. Okay. So that's where the exotic rifle comes from. So hopefully you've got plenty of points from Descent saved up. It's definitely good that they've got a shop in there now. The Descent talent pool rotation now has its own menu where the current rotation and available talents can be checked. Hopefully that's a pretty fast rotation and not like a weekly one. A button prompt for the menu can be found within Descent entrance AR window. Okay, that's fine. The duration of the rotation and name is now also displayed, but doesn't tell us how long the duration is. No caches to be bought. That's a bit of a shame. I'm really hoping that they were going to add caches in there as well, even exotic caches, even if it's not reconstructed. It would have been nice. But hopefully this is just the start of the shop. And then projects. The rewards list is now also includes 1 exotic component. Very, very nice. And weekly includes 3. Very nice. Definitely what we wanted to see. I was a little bit disappointed when we didn't see that last time. And the description for the vested delivery has not been updated, but they know about it. But the actual changes have happened. That's going to be it. Let me know what you think. It starts tomorrow. I'm sure there's lots to unpack here in much more detail, especially the changes to the gear sets and stuff and all the weapons. But be sure to like, share, comment and subscribe for that. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Is Project Resolve going to be a success or is it going to be a flop? And I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching, agents. Goodbye.